so we like I said, we finished watching Ironheart, and I don't have some of the comments.
Yeah, I look up some.
But she gonna look up some of the comments. But yeah, we don't have some of the comments. But I can say like some of them, like even before the show aired, it was bad. But my thing,
Oh, so now I got an 86% Rotten Tomato score.
but yeah, the score has been increasing. I don't know what they look like. I don't know if I have video or not. I'm trying to figure that out.
Ironheart is a disappointing and frustrating addition to the MCU that completely disrespects the legacy of what came before it. Let's start with the worst offense. Tony Stark, the literal heart of the MCU,
Mm,
is boiled down to nothing more than a rich guy. Riri Williams dismisses his legacy by claiming he was Iron Man only because of his wealth. That line alone shows the writers
mm,
didn't understand Tony's character or journey. This is a man who built a life saving suit in a cave with scraps, who outsmarted gods and gave his life to save the universe. He wasn't a hero because he had money, he was a hero because he had heart, brilliance, and sacrifice. To reduce him to a bank account is lazy, disrespectful, and completely tone deaf to the
Jesus.
foundation of the franchise. Gosh, who is this person? The
Mm,
rest of the show doesn't fare much better. The story drags, the pacing is slow, the emotional stakes are non existent. Riri is framed as a genius, but her decisions lack any real moral depth. She steals, complains, and carries herself with an attitude that feels unearned. Nothing about her arc feels heroic or inspiring. She doesn't grow, she doesn't struggle, she just lectures. The writing is hollow and uninspired, with clunky dialogue and scenes that feel like they were pulled from rejected drafts of other shows. Oh my gosh, this is too long. I'm not reading all of this.
mm.
Okay. Another one is it's disappointing and frustrating addition to the MCU that wow, these are all written like the same. This completely disrespects the legacy of what came before it. Let's start with the first event. Oh, someone writing the like over and over. It fails to live up to the Marvel
Because
legacy. Ironheart is not just a misstep, it's a bewildering detour that cheapens the very foundation that MCU was built on. It doesn't honor what came before, instead, it undercuts it. Okay, so it seems like a lot of people are upset of how it
Iron
was
Man was portrayed.
portrayed.
Yeah. And okay, so that's I mean
Here's a
that's
positive one. The first three episodes were masterful. Pacing, inspired creativity, and exploration of the intersection between science and morality. Let my family and I know we were in for something special. It wasn't just a superhero origin story. It's a well-crafted journey that respects its audience's intelligence and attention span.
mm. um I mean, this is you're reading the like the criticisms from like
Google.
yeah, like I saw just flat out here we go again and woke show or something like that. I've seen a lot of that type of stuff. So
This was not a woke show. Why? Because
um
it was diverse cast.
yeah, that's why like I was just like,
I
okay,
need y'all to really understand what the definition of woke is. I'm
yeah, I
so
feel
over that. Like, I'm so tired of it being a four-letter word that y'all like to throw around.
yeah.
It's like just because some extremists taught it to y'all as a bad word, you just throw it out there.
So my thing is the show. I think that's weird that a lot of criticism has to do with tying it back to Iron Man, and I like I'm not gonna do that because you got to remember the show's from Ironheart's perspective, right? Like
The
so,
character was developed in 2016.
yeah.
Like, if y'all are so into comic books, you tried it. It looks like they've been getting a lot of basically from let me see, The Guardian, Screen Rant, W WDW News, which is like Disney Parks News.
Mm.
It's it's been getting a decent review
Uh,
from and Rotten Tomatoes gave it. um, let's see what Rotten Tomatoes said.
mm.
It has a 86% score from Rotten Tomatoes, 53% audience score. So the audience has been the hardest on this one,
Mm.
it appears. But the critics seem to really like the show. I think because the critics understood what the show was supposed to be.
So yeah, let's talk about that, right? Like, I mean, like I said, like it was first of all, the show was review bomb before the show even aired, and that's a big issue that we got to figure out as audience people, like to um, how can I say, like to deal with the if you have like female characters or black characters that people just run to the internet right away and just say negative things. People like, oh, gave the show a 1 star out of 5 and say, I would never watch this.
Oh, that
And
was
it's
what
like,
it came out with the trailer?
and it was like, yeah, and it was just like, oh, how you give a show a 1 star? So you want people, you wanted to have a negative, you want to deter people from watching it, right? Like that was the whole intention. So for me, we got to figure out how to combat that as well as possible. I know they're putting disclaimers that about it, but the other thing that now, as far as the show is concerned, so I'll be honest. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna speak on for anybody else's opinion. Like, I wasn't too much of a fan of the show until like basically the last episode. I wasn't like, and I'm not trashing it. It's just like for me, and then upon watching it, I think there was like a moment where she was trying to break into like a secret lair. Everybody probably, if you watch the show, you know what I'm talking about. It's not like a spoiler. She's trying to break into this guy's lair,
Mm.
and there was the key under the rug, and it was just like she's a genius hacker with a super suit and the AI, and I was just like at that moment I realized, oh, and it was, the way to get in was a key under the rug. So I said, oh, okay, yeah, this is a children's show, right? Like, oh, I'm not really the target demographic for this
Right.
show. I was just like, oh, this is like, because I'm looking for more layered storytelling. I'm looking for more details, a little bit more like, oh man, wow, that was deep. Like, oh, that connected to that. Oh, that was weaved into this, and I didn't really get the sense of that. I got very simplistic writing, very simplistic storytelling. So I definitely, oh, the Residence was canceled. Um,
The Shonda Rhimes show?
yeah, yeah, the Residence was canceled.
Gosh,
Yeah,
catch a break around here.
yeah, Residence canceled after Pulse. The Residence canceled after 1 season. Wow. Um, and I think, I mean, obviously, like the Residence being a black female led show is canceled. It was a pretty good show. Um, that's like, what you're dealing with black female led shows, and I think like I was expecting more from the writing of this show because of that. Because black female led shows are getting canceled regularly. So I think you got to bring your A game when you're doing these shows. And I feel like maybe, you know, it didn't really bring the A game. And like I said, maybe it was skewed more to a younger demographic. I just I just wasn't feeling the show that well. I ain't gonna lie to you. I wasn't feeling it. Um, you
Yeah,
know.
I mean, I thought that I'm gonna tell you before the I think by what episode 4 that we watched, so like before she even went to the lair that Ro spoke of earlier, I realized then I was like, this feels like the Disney shows. Like if you
Yeah, you
watch
did
any
say that.
Disney
Yeah.
Channel shows in the past, and I haven't watched a lot because by the time Disney Channel became really, I guess you could say super popular, I was, an adult,
Yeah.
to at least I was a young adult, but I was still an adult, so I wasn't really watching Disney shows. But I used to watch a friend of mine. I would babysit her daughter because she was a hairstylist, and I would babysit her daughter because she would have to go up Northern California to do hair for like a week, and so I would house sit and watch her daughter for a week. and she would watch a lot of Disney Channel stuff, and that's when I kind of saw what their formula was. And it's very clearly on a lot. It's very clearly on sound stages, like the Disney shows. And the more and that's sometimes when even Marvel films feel very laddish.
Yeah.
Pinewood has been a studio they've used over and over, in Atlanta. And so I think like watching in the beginning, we kind of we knew that that was kind of what the show was going to be. I think we knew it was going to be it was going to feel like a lot shooting like this. That's just unfortunately the cards that these series are being dealt. But I don't know. I think there's series that have come before this one where a formula could have been somewhat stolen, and maybe it it didn't. The audience would be child and adult friendly. I do feel like to a certain extent, Miss Marvel was adult friendly, could be adult friendly too. Like there were parts of it that I felt like definitely kids could laugh at, and then there were parts that even as an adult you could somewhat.
Well, they addressed the Palestinian, right? Palestine? No.
I can't remember.
Hold on. I don't want to get the wrong.
Yeah.
It was India and Pakistan. Yeah, so they dealt with that, the conflict in that countries, and that was very adult theme. That was very deep content, content that they made and tied it back to her heritage.
And I think because, of course, with her being in Chicago, I don't know. I've never read the Ironheart comic books too, so I don't know how true they had to say to the source material in terms of the stepfather passing and the friend.
I'll say this, and yes, you can't take too many liberties, but I want you to look at this as actually as a writer and as a director and as a producer, because this is like when you go from source material, like this becomes its own entity in my book. I don't like the fact that people just all of a sudden think because you take it from the source material that you're not allowed to
To
interpret.
deviate, yeah, which a lot of people do. I mean, when they actually adapt films and series from books a lot, because you'll see it all the time where people will say, "Well, I missed this character that didn't make it into the series or the film," or "Oh, I felt like the way this character was portrayed in the series and the film was felt different than how So you will see a lot of people talk about that. When they'll speak on it from a different. It does affect them in terms of seeing it from the page to screen, but like I said, Miss Marvel was definitely like an example of kind of a formula that could have been used.
Yeah.
I also think that um you also have the series that are Marvel series, but will not be spoken of as Marvel series. With its grittiness, such as like Luke Cage, Punisher, and Daredevil.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's good at Iron Fist, but even Iron Fist wasn't that bad.
No, not.
The fighting sequence, the fight choreography was a little rough, but
Well, admittedly, he said he only trained like 2 weeks before the show. He didn't know it was going to be that intensive.
that intensive. So that's where you kind of. I mean, the fight sequence. I will say that fight sequence she has. I don't want to give that away, but she has a couple fight sequences. Her fight sequences is on point. Like in towards the end of this series itself, the season. I'm sorry.
I'm sure. Hopefully, they use the same choreographer
For
that
at least
used
for Black
Panther.
Panther. But I you're dealt a different hand, unfortunately, when you're talking about the series. You're talking about less money. I do feel like there was less time because that's where I want to say where you saw some of the pitfalls in this in the series, but we know by working in television production, particularly in post, like your turnaround time. Well, no, working and then with me during all three phases of pre and production and post, that these schedules, because of the budgets getting tighter and tighter, and that's across the board, that's even for narrative, it affects a lot more than we think it does when it comes down to telling a story. That's why I look at the studio. Don't make it then.
Yeah.
If these are the cards that are going to be dealt, and you already know that, you already, when the head of your CEO of your studio says that nobody wanted to make Black Panther initially because they didn't think black people were actually going to come out to see the film, and then we proved you wrong twice.
Yeah.
And so you now know that Wakanda itself and the character of Black Panther and anything associated with, you know, any character associated with Black Panther is a winning, you know, concept with black audiences, because clearly we're watching it. We watched Ironheart.
Yeah.
I think it's been proven, and Ryan Coogler and his team are also a part of this series, even though there's a showrunner and a writer's room, you know, so that are working with them.
Yeah.
That are actually over the show itself. Give them the resources and the time to do the darn thing, because Dominique Thorne is an exceptional actress. Anthony Ramos, despite the fact that I hated his character, is a great actor, stage actor.
Yeah.
So you know that this pair alone, and they're the two leads of the series, can deliver. I even thought members that were, you know, part of the group that Anthony Ramos is a part of, when you meet him, they had potential to be great, because I thought that their acting wasn't.
Where the hell did they go? They just like wrapped them out completely. I thought they would play some role in the end of the series. Like, it's stuff like that.
It's things like that that just, and that's why I feel like there were resources that were not appropriated to this series.
Yeah.
I just don't feel like these major, and that's why I was like, well, maybe it is just talk. They just treat it as like a Disney Channel series. But I get upset because you didn't do that with any other series. Yeah. Any other series you did under the Marvel banner for television, like even shooting as glossy as you did.
Yeah.
You made it a Disney Channel show.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Marvel was even shot dirtier.
Yeah.
Wild. Like, it had glossy moments, but it glossy moments when it kind of dealt with like the pretty ice little things she makes, like the whatever she does with her, like her power is with the bracelets, like how she's able to make the stairs.
Yeah.
That's where it kind of got a little glossy, but because she lived in the tri-state area, it was gritty. And you have this Chicago born.
Well, they didn't even use Chicago at all. Yeah.
Wild.
That didn't feel like a character. Like, that's one you know, the show that did it one of the best to me. That's a TV show, was Luke Cage.
That's what I said. I said Luke Cage earlier. I said you need to use they could use the formula that Luke Cage, Punisher, and help me.
Luke Cage, you didn't say
Daredevil.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I know you didn't say Iron Fist.
Daredevil had. I mean, there were times, not so much maybe, because there were times with, I would even say with Luke Cage, and you would have been good. But there were times when you watch Daredevil, at times doesn't even feel like a superhero series, because his character is so, and that is especially because Riri kind of has the same struggles that a Daredevil has with being a good person, but also needing to do whatever it takes to do better for her family, her community. That's the purpose of the iron suit, right? Mm-hmm. You could have taken the basis of what the Daredevil story was, and there you go. I mean, it's, you know, it's, yes, it is time consuming to do that style of layering, because, but you got the actor in Dominique Thorne.
Yeah.
You know, and so you know she's going to be able to deliver what you see Charlie Cox as an actor delivers with Daredevil, of fighting like, I need to do this. But I mean, like, I don't know if y'all watched Born Again or not, and if I'm giving this away and this is a spoiler, I'm sorry.
Well, Born Again, yeah, they should be.
You know, they should have. When he throws Homeboy off that roof, that confliction of like, you did this, I don't care. We needed moments like that with her.
I agree. I think they tried.
They tried, but it was like,
they felt like Disney moments.
And that's the problem. I think I'm not upset so much with the series. I'm upset with probably everything that was done for this series to be what it was.
Yeah.
I know it was studio conflicts. I know it was. There's no way this team has never put out something that looks like that ever.
Yeah.
When Ryan Coogler was working with like $2 to make a film, his stuff ain't look like that.
Yeah.
And now when you got a bigger budget,
It felt like it was shouting a lot, like you said. Yeah. Yeah, I just like I said, I was disappointed by the show, and like I said, I don't think it was due to the showrunner or the
no, I don't
writers.
blame the team at all because we know what can happen.
Yeah,
We've been on the side where we're like, really, this would um, uh, in the Iron Man 2 with Mickey Rourke, your best. Like
oh
it's like we know
yeah,
it's like when they hand you this and we're sitting there like, this is all y'all want? Okay, cool.
yeah.
So what?
No, I agree. I think that we're just like
I mean, you did it so she wouldn't get a second season. You know they did that.
it definitely felt like a show that wasn't good enough to get a second season. If it did, like I said, it felt intentional. But I mean, I'm curious why the reviews are so good now. Like now, I went from and I think it's like a knee jerk reaction, like to the bad reviews.
Yes.
You get a bunch of people giving it overwhelmingly good reviews that I'm like, I don't think I like I said, like I think it falls somewhere in the middle. I think it was just a regular show that what I mean, um like I said, like a regular Disney show. I don't think it was nothing bad, nothing good. I think it's just
Ooh,
yeah, I think it was like I
it's
said,
good. And now that all six are up, it's a good binge. Like if you want to just
yeah,
watch a binge.
yeah. I mean, like I said, like it's. I think the things that people are upset about, like undercutting, it does feel like you know,
It's
like
racist.
it
Y'all mad because you wanted.
felt a
And
little bit.
it's not even looking at Tony Stark as being just money. And I love. Rel will tell you, like I rock with Iron Man.
Yeah.
Like he'll tell you, like I'm like, what Iron Man? Like I am always going hard about Iron Man. So I am never a person that's discounting what his legacy was to MCU. It does scare me when people go this hard though, like because I'm gonna need y'all to go this hard, like when Tyler Perry does a movie.
Mm.
Like y'all want like at the end of the day, these are still comic book characters, and I think that's
Mm-hmm.
where I get a little nervous when people be going hard on things like, how dare you reduce him
Yeah.
to this? And you mad because she called out the fact that she had no resources, and he did.
Yeah.
Yes, he made it in the cave. Yes, he was a genius, X, Y, and Z. But at this point, and that was where I feel like somewhat of the story ball got dropped, that the tech should be more evolved
Yeah.
from where even he started. And because her tech wasn't evolved, I think that is where I got frustrated because if she's there on a fellowship from him, there should be a lot more in that grant pocketbook that, could allot her an opportunity to make the iron suit better. I kind of just didn't really want it to be. I feel like more so the iron. I didn't want it to be about her needing resources. I think that was the part that upset me because if she had told me to start fellowship,
Mm.
because she got tied up in something. If I was to do the story, let me just do it from this standpoint. If I was to do the story because she had to sell secrets before, I think that's why a villain approaches you. I mean, sell the vibranium secrets, and that's how they ended up in the turf war with the vibranium.
Mm.
And this is so terrible to say it that way. In Wakanda Forever.
Okay.
But it's a tax. Sorry for those who got offended by calling it a turf war. But because remember, it was about the vibranium being sourced at
Yep.
in the
I'm
um, the underwater community. It's a world, underwater world. Sorry,
Yeah.
that was established by Neymar and his people. So I feel like where I think if we're bringing in a villain with Anthony Ramos, he should be trying to get a whole villain crew together, right? And that would have been cool too.
Mm.
I would have liked to have said, "Yo, I'm gonna get the girl that found the vibranium, and I'm gonna be like, yo, let's roll. I'm gonna help you out. Not so much from a I'm gonna help you get resources thing,
Mm-hmm.
but the way he started it out was, we're trying to take down bad people who are using tech
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
bad things.
Robin Hood.
And that's technically what she was, right? Like that's technically what Riri Williams was. So if he approached her from that aspect, like I'm trying to put, but it didn't end up, that didn't end up being the story. I would have preferred that than like her being the girl that needed money for the iron suit.
Mm.
Like the tech would have been fine. She would have been good on that, because that's, I feel like her genius was undercut. While people were so upset about Tony Stark's,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
her genius was undercut. Every side we saw was like,
yeah,
this chick was like, she could put together, she basically put together a suit, spoiler alert, sorry about this, off a car.
yeah.
And she couldn't do that with all the resources at MIT. That's where I was getting confused. So I think that is where there were some pitfalls. But outside of that, I don't think, you also have to understand the limitations that were probably given to them by Disney. Like Iron Man could only be used but so much. So how were they
Mm-hmm.
going to use the legacy of Iron Man? I mean, but we got really got to stop going hard on this, because y'all know y'all attacked it because it was a black woman, and you felt like a black woman was reducing Tony Stark's legacy.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I was gonna say. I think that's what their perspective of it was like. She needs to be humble, but you got to remember this is, and I'll even entertain it for 10 seconds. Like,
Okay, yeah.
all right, I'll entertain the idea of like her needing to be humble, and I think this is where people are like, they shouldn't have wrote it that way. That cuts Mark. Okay, forget that. If you're telling a story, you're telling you as a writer. I'm like, I'm writing this story from her perspective of a young hotshot inventor. I bet you Tony Stark didn't respect Howard Stark, right? And that was his own father, right?
Yeah, bad, bad.
Right? Like he
Yeah,
wanted to be better than his father, right?
different.
Like
Yeah.
he wanted to, right? Like so that's what I'm saying. It's like with her, why would she respect Tony Stark, right? From her perspective, if I'm writing this as a writer, I'm not gonna write this and be like, all right, she must be a humble young black woman who idolizes Tony Stark. What? Why? Why? What? Why? Like that doesn't even make sense to write a story like that. So, like, y'all gotta get outside of yourselves. Like, get outside of your own biasness and your own perception of like what you want the story to be. But like, does that even make sense to write this young lady like she was supposed to only worship Tony Stark just because of what Tony Stark meant to the MCU as like the company, like Kevin Feige, right? Like that's what they wanted to do. They'd be like, that makes no sense because in the realm of the story that they're writing, right? Because this is the writer's room that's writing for her.
Yes.
This makes sense that she be like, yeah, I don't care. Tony Stark to me is just some rich dude to me. Yeah,
I would have preferred if she just, it was like literally the one line he got, and I wouldn't even, I I wouldn't have had her run out of money. That part I hated. The
yeah.
running out of money. Or she got kicked out of MIT. That's
She
what
got
it
kicked
was.
out.
She didn't run out of the money,
Yeah,
right? She still had the money.
yeah. No, I don't know what happened. The money thing, I
I
don't.
can't even remember.
I just know she blew up the thing, and they were like, "Yeah, you gotta get out."
I would have just been good with a good line, like we do in reality. A good line, paying on, an homage to him and his tech. But how, like you said, but I'm a freak it. Like, like how we like to, I'm gonna take it to the next level. That's fine. Then we would have been good. She could have. I didn't like to get kicked out of MIT stuff too. That was weird because they were trying to take education away from us. So that kind of stuck me in a weird place. But like I said, I would prefer Anthony Ramos to show up. He can float in and out of stuff. Sorry if I gave that away for those who haven't watched it yet. He doesn't really float. Put it that
No,
way.
yeah, I was gonna say float. Yeah,
He could have showed up to MIT, made a proposal. Uh, you know, promised, maybe promised what the fellowship couldn't do, 10 more suits by her helping say, be Robin Hood.
okay.
And then that could have been a better, I feel like, instead of it like, because I didn't like the, The MI getting kicked out of MIT novels, I didn't really like. I'm gonna tell you that I didn't understand that she was selling secrets, and the whole time, because that's why she got kicked out. They
Yeah,
found out she was selling,
yeah,
doing
plagiarism.
plagiarism.
Yep.
She fought a whole war with Wakanda,
Yes.
and you gonna kicked out of MIT. I hated that. I think she should have gotten a medal for fighting the war with Wakanda.
Yeah, that's where I guess I was kind of confused about, like, coming off of being the hero that saved the world essentially, or helped save the world, and then to turn around and you're like, cobbling together a suit at MIT and you're getting kicked out, and you're like, it was just, it felt little disconnected. And I do know that they're trying to say that these Marvel television shows are supposed to be standalones and not necessarily connect to the MCU.
But they kind of do though, because by the time you come back into the movies, she's not an MIT student.
Yeah,
She's probably got the rash thing.
so they haven't figured
I
out.
understand that, so I'm sorry, I won't spoil it.
And I guess, like, I guess for certain, certain shows it won't be, and certain shows it will be, right? Like, I guess maybe because this one was greenlit before, so maybe like Eyes of Wakanda doesn't connect to the MCU.
Okay, okay.
But maybe because this character was introduced in the MCU, but because yeah, to me it's just really hard because it doesn't make sense. Like, to show her at, you know at the at flashbacks of her with Shuri, mentioning Shuri and all that, and then turn around and be like, "Yeah, but I'm a bum now." Like, it's just like, okay. Even when the homegirl suggested calling her for help, it was like there's reasons why she can't call for help, and it's, of course, we're all thinking like, "Yo, call homegirl for help." Like, this doesn't even make sense. Black Panther, and
Black Panther.
Black Panther. I know personally. Let me give it a holler. But you didn't, I don't know, like, and they had to create a reason why you didn't call. I don't know. It there was a lot of issues with that show, I felt. And I feel like they were handicapped with a lot of things that were above their pay grade. I feel like they had to, yeah, they had to, it's one of those things with Black Panther 3. Ryan Coogler's going to have a lot of leeway to be creative.
Yes,
Right?
especially coming off of Sinners. Like he already, and he had it. If Sinners didn't even happen, he would have it.
Yeah.
Because he got two. One is $1 billion. The other, at least, because it's a little over $1 billion. The other one globally. Yeah. The other one drew in close to $1 billion globally.
Yeah.
Wakanda Forever. So you already come in with with more creative control to say, okay, this is what I want to do with the third one. Yeah. And you was handed like, I mean, the second one you were handed, or because you didn't even have T'Challa. Yeah. So I mean, he's definitely stood. He's definitely stood to the. Has been tested, battle tested, and has come through for Disney. So it's like he's like you said, but with Sinners alone too, being an original IP, that he freaked out. Yeah. They're definitely gonna be like, oh, here you go. What do you need for Black Panther? And he's getting budgets in the hundreds of millions to do those films. So he's gonna get what he needs for these projects. Yeah. But my issue is like somebody needed to have a conversation with him about this Marvel television. But even like the other ones, the production value of the shows there's discussions that need to be had. But y'all be doing the black people dirty. You did Samuel L. dirty. You did because WandaVision wasn't like, because it was supposed to be this weird multiverse type.
Well, it's supposed to look like a set because it was within it was like an old TV show, yeah. So it worked in that context, yeah.
It worked in that context. Loki wasn't awful, but you knew it was also shot on a lot.
But that's why that worked as well, because it was at the TVA.
In the time travel.
So they were also like stuck in a time warp with how the technology looks, so it could look a little cheaper, a little older. So yeah, I think this one, like, when you start getting to the more realistic shows and you start shooting those on a lot, you run into some big issues, I feel.
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Like the European shots was rough.
Oh yeah.
Like the rest of it good. Like when they're stateside or they're in a room when they were in the therapy session together, those were great. But and the choreo is good, but
Yeah.
the fight choreo, but y'all know y'all be doing them shows dirty. And it's like, don't, if you, television is hard. Like, I think a lot of people look at TV and they play it because it's not like films are very hard too. I'm not taking any of the like media platforms for granted. Just like doing this is hard.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that every platform where you have to create is hard and it comes with its own set of challenges. But TV, the reason why I say it's hard is people are expecting to see evolution in characters. They're expecting to see, you know, you have to take them on a ride, right? You're starting out, it's like riding a roller coaster. You're starting out, with that tick, 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 where you're going up. Mm-hmm. Then you're at the top. Mm-hmm. You have to wait for a little bit, depending on how many episodes you have. You have to wait for a little bit while you're at that top and then you take that drop. Mm-hmm. You take the audience in that drop. Sort of like it's like a film, but it's you have those episodes to do it. Mm-hmm. But it really comes. You can definitely when you're taking them on that ride after they come out of that initial drop. What else are you going to add into it? Are you going to have loops? Mm. If they're going to go through, you have another drop that they got to anticipate. Yeah. But at the end of the day, when people pull into that station and you're getting out on one side as the other riders are getting ready to get on the other side, do you recommend that ride to people? Mm. That's what TV has to do. It's the same with film too. But that's what a television show is supposed to do for you. And I think the thing about it is that it's not that, it's funny. Once Marvel started doing shows that were technically connected to the MCU, it just didn't have, not all of them pack the same punch as the ones that he tries to like not, as the studio tries to ignore, didn't happen. Mm. That was initially on Netflix. Like those shows, you know, they were gritty. They were, you could feel the cities they were a part of. Those were a character. You could feel, I mean, you were able to book exceptional actors and who worked on this. And it's not like you're not getting them in the shows. It's just, I don't know. So I do feel like within the series themselves. So I just, if it, I'm glad that it is getting good reviews from people that are doing, the write ups. I'm glad to see that it has a good score from Rotten Tomatoes, and a lot of people put a lot of weight into the critic score. I'm just, you know, but I'm not surprised the audience score either. Yeah. So I think the thing about it is that maybe if there were some disclaimers off the top too, that you kind of understood it was a Disney show, I think that would have helped because a lot of people came in support. A lot of people like Dominic Thorne. Like I can't wait to see her in other roles. And we, you know, we liked to see Shuri have someone her age because she had to a lot of weight on her shoulders as a young queen. Within Wakanda Forever, it was nice to see someone come in and you know basically help her carry that mantle that she had to do basically by herself. Yeah. So I think I think that was the Riri we kind of were expecting to see was the one we met in Wakanda Forever. And like you said, it was times it felt like she was doubting her ability. And not to say that Tony Stark didn't go through that too, but you definitely didn't see that from no Tony Stark in the first one. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, like I'm curious and where they're gonna go with the character from now. I mean, because it's getting good reviews, and I'm sure they got a lot of eyeballs. I don't know if they're
I don't know if the Marvel execs were happy with the show or not with the show. So that's I'm curious what they're gonna do with this character going forward because you're kind of attached to it. But then, as you see with them going into Doomsday and Secret Wars, you know, she's not gonna be a focal point, obviously. And it seems like a lot of the older uh not a lot of some of the not even the oldest but the second tier, right? The I hate to call Anthony Mackie's like you know he came in a little later as a sidekick and now he's Captain America, shout out. You know, you got uh oh, I don't know his name from the Ten Rings. I know his real name, but Simu,
Simu Liu.
but I don't remember his name on
Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi. You know what I mean? You got him. You got so these are the next bunch, right? Like I guess it's the way that Thor Chris Hemsworth wrote his you know, it sounds like a goodbye letter. So it sounds like Thor is not going to make it out of Doomsday. But you know, other than that, you know, Chris Evans he claims that no one reached out to him. Um Obviously Robert Downey Jr. now is a villain, so now there's no Iron Man. So, you know, obviously she's gonna fill that slot. So I'm curious to see what they're gonna do with the character though, because like I wasn't super impressed, and I don't know. I like the last episode. I like how they cliffhanged it. You know, I won't ruin it for y'all, but you know, so we're not gonna do a spoiler. But I do like how that was like the first time I was like, all right, it felt like there's some stakes coming
Yeah,
up,
it
and
did
then the
feel
show
like
ends.
that. Yeah.
It was like finally, like I didn't feel those stakes. I
That's
didn't
what it
feel
was. Yeah.
right, like so, and
Because
that's
you
what
didn't really know what the end goal was gonna be. It was like,
she was just
okay,
trying to survive every episode,
every
just
episode trying
trying
to
to survive.
survive until, yeah, she's
Yeah,
trying to survive. Everything she's trying to survive something different.
yeah,
So,
finances,
yeah.
the hood, yeah, it was always
Oh,
just
in the hood.
not feeling the hood.
Because it's like, even though, like with Luke Cage, there was aspects to it that where it was a like the organized crime in Harlem felt like organized crime you would see anywhere.
Yeah,
Like it almost felt like Godfather of Harlem organized crime as opposed to like, oh, shootout in Chicago. Come
yeah,
on, really?
yeah.
Like that part bothered me. And then the racists jumped on that. Since we were talking about racism, the racist podcasters jumped on that.
What about Chicago violence?
Yeah,
Of
being
course.
in the series.
Well, of course. I mean, like
Now I don't know if that was the comic book or not. So
yeah, I don't know. Like I said, like it sucks because especially if this came out in 2016, and I know that a lot of people had social commentary about the violence in Chicago, and honestly, if they, I think that's lazy writing for comic book writers, right? Like you just like, oh, there's violence in Chicago, black people, let's include that in the comic book,
yeah, it was dirty.
right? That feels a little lazy, but